Review: Billy Bob Thornton carries Landman to the finish line in the Season 2 finale of Landman Season 2 Episode 10. Did they truly save the finest for last? If you have spent any time on the patch this season, you are aware that the path to the most comprehensive episode in the series, the Landman Season 2 finale, has been somewhat convoluted. Inspired by the podcast Boomtown, Taylor Sheridan and Christian Wallace's gritty, extravagant oil drama concludes its sophomore season with a resolution that returns folks to their familiar road and suggests fresh starts. The main character in the neo-Western drama series, played by Billy Bob Thornton, is an experienced oil guy who struggles every day with the hectic chaos that drives his job, affects his family, and highlights the brutal reality of life entangled in the large oil industry. As president of the fictional M-Tex oil firm, Tommy Norris, Thornton has faced numerous personal and professional challenges for the majority of the season. After his former boss, Monty Miller, had a heart attack at the end of Season 1, the show's title character took over. Tommy is abruptly sacked by his new boss, Cammy Miller, Demi Moore, in the run-up to this week's finale. Cammy Miller's opposing viewpoints on how to manage a billion-dollar oil corporation diverge significantly on the banks of the Louisiana Bayou at the launch of a new rig. Cammy just changed the rules for perfect execution if "go big or go home" was grounds for dismissal. Cammy, a former socialite from Texas who didn't know how the sausage was made in her late husband's industry, has quickly learned how to lead the pack in a cutthroat industry. She searches fast for Tommy's replacement. However, Tommy Norris, the tough guy turned oil CEO, no longer has the luxury of finding anything that occurs from day to day shocking. He mobilizes his industry contacts to pave the way for his next chapter, which might entail going back to what he knows best, as he has no time to wallow in self-pity. Ultimately, there are just too many people in his life who rely on him to tell them what will happen next. First of all, Angela, Ollie Larder, his lively ex-wife and second go-around live-in partner, is still quite emotional about their daughter leaving for college in the autumn. Angela has arranged a lunch with Danny Morell's, Andy Garcia, wife, Tommy's adversary, in order to build her own connections in Fort Worth. In the second episode of this season, the two women quickly became friends over spontaneous cocktails with their guys. Unbeknownst to Angela, though, Tommy's employment, or lack thereof, seems to be more understood by the Morells than by his own wife. Angela yells at Tommy over the phone when Bella Morell lets it slip over mojitos, seeing this most recent loss as a repeat of their former marriage's financial disaster. After experiencing Division I cheerleading for the first time with her new squad at TCU, Ainsley Norris, Michelle Randolph, who lives only across the Trinity River from her parents, realizes the gravity of her profession. Toto, I should mention that Ainsley is no longer a high school student. Workouts at this level of university athletics are no joke, as the young co-ed soon discovers. Ainsley encounters her short-lived roommate, who coincidentally majored in sports medicine and was initially introduced in the previous episode, while on the field. This time, there aren't any constant demands, but when the two have a chance to support one another on the field, they surprisingly discover common ground. Odd couples might be the ideal roommates. When Cooper Norris, Jacob Laughlin, and Ariana Medina, Paulina Chavez, return to Midland, they must evaluate the psychological and physical harm caused by the startling events of the previous evening. The younger Norris faces legal repercussions for his actions defending his fiancée after Cooper pushes Ariana to report the rowdy bar customer who attempted to attack her in the Patch Cafe's back alley. Every graphic detail of Ariana's attack and Cooper's hands for weapons reaction appears to have been caught by the security cameras outside the bar. If you multiply the legal justification of one punch by 15, you may have over the line into illegal activity, son. Ariana and Cooper did not anticipate this response from the local government. Ariana pulls in assistance from an unexpected source now that Cooper is under scrutiny. Rebecca Falconia, Kayla Wallace, surprised that she would be Ariana's first call, physically and figuratively goes into overdrive to defend Cooper, but not before warning Tommy. Rebecca's persistent drive as an attorney is where the character shines, even though we have seen far more of her vulnerable side this season with her new love interest, Charlie. Rebecca, wearing 4-inch heels and in stealth mode, storms into the interrogation room to discredit the cops for questioning her new client without his lawyer present. The tough litigator quickly makes the lawmen reevaluate their life decisions as she painstakingly lays out her defense strategy, which has the potential to expose every secret in their own closets. While the investigators and deputies debate whether or not to charge Cooper, the plot places persons on opposing sides of the argument over who the law considers to be the victim in this particular situation. Tommy is back in Fort Worth and is still looking for a benefactor to fund the drilling of his son's Lucky Strike wells, all the while keeping Cooper's legal troubles in the back of his mind. Having run out of alternatives, pun intended, he ends up in Danny Morell's office. Yes, that Danny Morell, Tommy's previously noted annoyance. Tommy hides his pride and contempt for the drug lord who is now experimenting with oil, who almost killed him in Season 1, after realizing that big business may occasionally make weird bedfellows. The former oil executive who is now a landman outlines his financial requirements, the reasons it makes sense to support a Norris family business, and the potential costs to him as an angel investor of Cammy's offshore gas drill on a whim. Tommy Norris's dismissal brings him back to his origins and motivations for working in a field that has frequently moved away from gaining leases and mineral rights for oil drilling exploration and toward crisis management, family therapy, bereavement counseling, and hoarding cats. Back in Midland, the landman's day comes full circle. Tommy stops by to criticize the police chief and share his thoughts on Cooper's interrogation and victims' rights in relation to Ariana's assault while traveling to see his son and see how his future daughter-in-law is doing. In the heart of the Permian Basin, under the setting Texas sun, he collects his father, T.L., Sam Elliott, Rebecca, and their motley oil crew with Cooper and Ariana. Tommy lays out his intentions for their joint future there, beneath the steel and stone of a pumpjack in West Texas. The most memorable aspect of Landman's second season is still Billy Bob Thornton's performance of Tommy Norris, which is compelling and subtle. The veteran actor's performance, which captures the intricacy of his character's effort to keep his mind from blowing up with the minute-by-minute decisions he must make in any given 24-hour period, continues to highlight his unique acting style and depth as a performer. Maybe his popping antacids like tic-tacs highlights how the character skillfully combines roughness and tenderness. Thornton's skillful portrayal of Tommy's emotional journey throughout this season and the grizzled oil man's will to survive to see another sunrise, whether he takes a moment to appreciate it or not, is enhanced by his unique blend of drama and dry comedy. And in spite of the many challenges he encounters on a daily basis, such as family legal issues, needy relatives, skepticism from people he assists, or encounters with the devil, Thornton unquestionably steals the show, reminding us of the value of perseverance and the pursuit of our own envious day in the sun, regardless of how lengthy the convoluted and oil-slick path takes to get there. We will have an opportunity to observe how the new CTT exploration, and cattle compares to its rivals next fall, as Landman's mid-season renewal for a third year is already underway. You'll understand if you just watch. Watch all 10 of the Big Oil drama's second season until then. At last, Ainsley is maturing and leaving the nest, and it only required one training session at the college. Ainsley is taken aback by the rigorous schedule and realizes she needs Pagan, the physiotherapist, who is also quite skilled. Because Ainsley is a bit of an outsider in the group, Pagan must perceive something in her weak ankles that softens their bedside attitude. When a group of high school lads show up to taunt them, Ainsley humiliates them and dismisses them because of Pagan's softness. Since Ainsley had to finally stand on her own 2 feet, this had to happen and was always going to happen in essentially the same way that it does here. She needed to develop her ability to make concessions. It's this. She even informs Angela that she's going to try living in the dorms again, which causes her to have another meltdown about her kid flying the coop. However, that is the least of Angela's issues. Tommy is no longer employed at MTEX, in case you forgot. A guy of his stature might, of course, return to being a landman or take a comparable role at another large corporation, but he isn't sure he has the stamina for that life anymore. In addition, he wants to demonstrate that he still has one home run left in him. In between putting out a few other flames during the finale, he manages to put this home run together. However, I'll gather everything here. To put it succinctly, our commenters were correct. Tommy will capitalize on Cooper's success. It's a bit of a gray situation even though MTEX took over the leases because Cammy was unaware of that small deal. Convincing legitimate businessmen of this isn't always simple, but fortunately Tommy has some acquaintances who aren't. Galeno, come on in. With Cammy in charge, Tommy has no trouble persuading Galeno that MTEX is sinking. Nate is aware of that as well. He resigns instead of accepting Cammy's invitation to serve as interim president in Fort Worth, claiming that Monty never meant for the business to survive him. It must be sold since it is a sinking ship. Unless Charlie finds gas in the field by some miracle, Galeno's investment will never provide a profit. Tommy is making a guarantee. Cooper's wells are already yielding results. He can recover at 70% and divide all future profits 50/50 if Galeno follows the conditions of the initial agreement. He and Tommy are starting a business, but it's reasonable to assume there will be some obstacles when the gangster Galeno's flicker truly materializes. Tommy wants some credibility to support his new business endeavor. He gives Galeno instructions to write a check to a business named CTT Oil Exploration and Cattle, ostensibly because he hadn't finished forming an LLC yet and needed to make sure it was so foolish that no one else would accept it in the interim. Tommy instructs Cooper to create a group chat with almost all of the main characters and call them to Cooper's dig site once he picks up Cooper and Ariana. Tommy establishes the framework for his new oil company after arriving. Tommy will serve as senior vice president and Cooper as president. Dale is the head of exploration, Rebecca is the COO and chief counsel, and Nate is the treasurer. Ariana will be the office manager, and TL and Cheyenne will delightfully supervise the excavation. CTT stands for Cooper, Tommy, Thomas, in case you were wondering. Oh no. Naturally, the consequences of Cooper beating the man who was abusing Ariana outside the patch constitute another significant plotline in Landman Season 2, Episode 10. The fact that the man passed away in the hospital adds a little complexity to this issue, and as a major pipeline supplier, the optics aren't ideal. The sheriffs are attempting to punish Cooper as a result. As was to be expected, Cooper's repeated attacks on the man after he ceased to pose a threat don't reflect well on him. He will require legal counsel. Fortunately, Ariana is acquainted with Rebecca. All Rebecca needed was a reason to switch back to her usual shark mode after weeks of fluttering her eyelids at Charlie. She barges into the interview room and makes it a point to threaten to search up every shooting involving an officer in the department and file civil lawsuits on behalf of the families of all the victims. By their own reasoning, law enforcement will be liable for enough damages to bankrupt the whole department if Cooper is charged with using excessive force. Tommy is investigating as well. When he finally shows up for a meeting with the assembled brass and just scorches the earth, he contacts Walt right away to assist restore it. In the wonderful state of Texas, is any jury going to side with the man attempting to force himself on a young woman over the man who valiantly defended his wife when it comes out that the man died in the hospital from a heart attack rather than the beating? Cooper is exonerated of any misconduct, and the lawsuit is a non-starter. Landman Season 2 essentially has a joyful conclusion in every way. This ending feels more like a Season 3 premiere than anything else, but that doesn't mean there won't be plenty of issues to handle in the future. Why not now?